Hello, I'm Elizabeth. Welcome to Neuroparenting Snippets. Today I'll be talking about the ABCs of temper tantrums. Not ABC because it's as easy as ABC, but it actually stands for antecedent, behavior, and consequence. I'll be focusing on the downstairs brain temper tantrum, the one that the toddlers are prone to when the big emotions just overwhelm them. Their prefrontal cortex is too immature to give them either the language or the self-regulation to manage it, and it's on. You've all seen them, perhaps you've experienced them. I didn't have a temper tantrumer in my family, had a breath holder, but that's a whole different beast and not on the agenda today. So, what are the ABCs? A, antecedent, just a fancy word that means everything that's come before. It might have been the weeks before, the days before, the hours before, or even the minutes before. Did they get a good night's sleep? Are they tired? Hungry? Hangry? Are they surrounded by temptations and you've been saying no? Or is there something they desperately want and they just can't seem to explain it to you? And then it all breaks down, the meltdown starts, and it's on. Arms and legs flailing, tears, shouting, crying, going rigid, thrashing around the floor. We've all seen it happen. There can be many early warning signs. Learn to recognize them. Leading up to a temper tantrum can be very quick, or it might be slower, like going up the steps to a slippery dip. There is time perhaps for you to redirect, to get out of there, to change the state, maybe, if you're onto it early enough. But once you get to the top of that slippery dip and start down the slope, there is no stopping it. Have you ever tried to stop a child sliding down a slippery dip? I did once. It wasn't very pretty. I just let them go now and go to the end and catch them when they get to the bottom. Because the B for ABC is the behavior. And once it starts, it's on. You don't try to stop it then. It's too late. If you had a chance to stop it, you've missed it. So you need to wait until it's past now. I recommend that you stay physically close, even in your own home, and if you can distance yourself, don't. Stay physically close, out of the range of thrashing arms and legs if you need to, but do stay emotionally distanced. Don't get involved. It's not about you. It might feel personal, but it's absolutely not. So there's no need for you to get emotionally involved. If the child calms down enough, you could transition by doing some mindfulness practices. The one I like for young children is to smell the rose and blow the candle. The recommendation is that the out-breath is about twice as long as the in-breath. So it might be in, 2, 3, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Don't be afraid to use it in public. People get used to temper tantrums, and it's much more pleasant to see somebody involved in dealing with it than just ignoring it or giving into it, even worse. So you might be able to get in some mindfulness toward the end of the tantrum, or perhaps at the beginning of the behavior if you think it's still time to stop it. But the behavior needs to run its course once it's started, and that leads into the C, the consequence. Now, this is not consequence in the same meaning as punishment. You're not doling out a consequence. It's what happens after. And you can manage this, and you're teaching the child to manage it themselves. This is the time, once they are calm, for you to talk about what happened. It's not okay to do this in the supermarket. Remember that mummy will buy you a treat either in the fruit store or in the candy store if that's what you've arranged, and avoid the word but. You are showing empathy, you understand, but you don't throw in the but word. I know you wanted it, but no. Try to use the and word. I know you wanted it, and I understand that. And then you can give them some reminders. If you want something, this is how you ask mummy. When we remember that when we have had our shopping, then we have a treat. And you can remind them of how it works in this family. It's also a good idea much later, maybe at bedtime, to talk about it again, because straight after the B, they don't want to hear about the C. They don't want to hear about the consequence. They're feeling hurt and wounded and upset. Nobody loves me. Nobody understands me. It's your job to show that you do love them, warts and all, and you do understand them. But it doesn't mean they get their own way. You need to be very clear. You need to be very sure about it yourself. I saw a parent in a supermarket doing wonderfully with a child that was upping the ante, upping the ante, upping the ante. And I was nearly going to say, hey, you're doing a great job, Mum. But before I could do that, the mum caved in and gave them what they want. And I'm like, oh no, now you've made a rod for your own back. Now they know how long they need to up the ante before you're going to cave in. Temper tantrums are developmental. Don't take them personally. They're not. It's the child's way of gaining some independence, some autonomy, and getting their needs met. They just haven't learnt how to do it more appropriately. You're the parent. It's your job to teach them. See you next time. Bye for now.